More than 70 Japanese delegates have arrived for the celebrations. Like Newcastle, Ube is a coal and steel city, and it was through these industrial links that the sister city relationship began a decade ago. Chairperson of the Sister City Friendship Society and President of Ube Industries, Mr. Shimizu, has been a regular customer of the Hunter's largest coal exporter, Coal and Allied. This year, his company bought 3 million shares in CNA and is now a major shareholder. But the essence of this trip is not business, but a cultural exchange, with exhibitions of Japanese handicrafts, flower arrangements and bonsai. According to the Ube visitors, everyone is welcome to attend.
We would like to invite all the Newcastle citizens to this Japanese cultural exhibition and demonstration that is going to be held on this Saturday and Sunday at Newcastle City Hall.
Good. Yeah.
Specialist treatment for the birds has been set up in Sydney and here in Newcastle. The latest batch collected from the lake arrived at the RSPCA clinic in Wallsend this evening. Staff and volunteers are feeding the swans doses of fluids, antibiotics and steroids. The next step is a thorough wash, otherwise the birds would poison themselves while trying to preen the diesel from their feathers. The birds must be kept warm, their natural barriers to the cold stripped by the fuel.
A lot of them are stressed, some of them are very bad with the oil. We've lost 3 out of about 20, which is pretty good, we think.
The problem began late on Tuesday when thousands of litres of diesel leaked into Lake Liddell from an Elcom storage depot. A wind change for the worst today spread the slick. Of the 150 birds collected so far, more than 40 have died. The spill is being called the worst on the state's inland waterways and prosecution is likely. The volunteers are expecting more birds and have appealed for help.
We're in dire straits for boxes about this size to put them in because these boxes are smelly now of diesel and putting them back into them is just bad. They're getting the diesel back on them. So we desperately need boxes, urgently.
Mark Sargent may have opted for coffee rather than champagne today, but he was still bubbling.
I think anyone that's played football and sort of just put any time into the game at all, it's the ultimate sort of it's the ultimate in league, and to achieve it's sort of a dream.
His selection comes as no surprise to anyone who's followed the strongman's career since he moved back to Newcastle. The leader of the Knights pack has been in devastating form and now has a test spot well and truly in his sights.
Stage 1's getting on the tour, and obviously that's what I'll be aiming for. Hopefully somewhere along the tour I'll be able to get a run in one of the major games.
Unfortunately, his teammates were overlooked, and while thrilled by Sarge's success, Knights officials were also reflecting on opportunities lost.
I really do believe that Ashley Gordon may well develop in one of the all-time great wingers, the Irvines, those sort of top-class wingers. And Ashley would have really blossomed on a tour of England where it was full-time, settle on, consider and concentrate on football only. And of course Tony Butterfield would play every day of the week. Butts would come back just a polished player on the enthusiasm and the class he demonstrates week after week.
Land values in Lake Macquarie have not changed in the last 9 years, so most residents were shocked when they received their new figures from the Valuer General's Department. Lake Macquarie Council last night heard how the valuations will lead to rate hikes, especially for those residents with water frontages. In 1981, this property in Sky Point Road, Cole Point, was worth $60,000. The Valuer General's Department has increased this to $290,000. The rate for the land is likely to more than double to $3,000, a prospect which has angered the owner.
You budget to live in a certain spot, and you don't expect rates to go up to that extent, which creates quite a financial problem.
The value of this property has jumped from $53,000 to $270,000. Although the owner, Mrs. Joyce Richardson, receives a pensioner rebate, she still faces an increase of more than $1,000.
It's so long since we've had the place, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair.
On the other side of the lake at Bolton Point, the story is the same.
It looks like they're what they call isolating us because we're living on the water, just because we've got a waterfront view, you know. We work damn hard to live here, we wait a long time to live here, and now that we're at the age that we want to enjoy it, you get hit with a big slug like this and pretty blooming hard.
Most residents realise how lucky they are living on the lake, but feel such an increase is too much, especially when they were given little warning.
We're not complaining about that one little bit. We are realists, but it is one hell of a jump.
If rates continue to increase in line with property values, then those residents we spoke to feel it may soon become too costly to live there. Jodie McKay for NBN News.
Addressing the ultra-conservative Newcastle Businessmen's Club, Labor leader Bob Carr was like Daniel in the lion's den, but he came armed with some damning statistics. He also told the gathering the resignation rate for Hunter TAFE teachers had doubled over the last 2 years and revealed a 7-point plan designed to rebuild the system. The initiatives include the appointment of an educator to head the service, former Science Minister Barry Jones to chair an inquiry into the status of teachers, more exemptions from administration fees for Hunter students, and the establishment of a special skills centre at the Newcastle TAFE. Mr Carr placed the blame for the current problems in the system squarely at the feet of the Greiner government.
We're in trouble in TAFE because the government didn't spend the budget last year. The government ended the year with $19 million in the TAFE budget unspent. So they're not even spending the money the Parliament voted for the TAFE system.
The government says the shortfall is directly linked to declining student numbers. Local TAFE teachers acknowledge the ALP plan as a step in the right direction, but say unless wages rise, the problems will continue.
Aided by strong coaching and administration, Newcastle has become one of the strongest areas in the state for basketball. Next weekend, the under-14 boys and girls teams will have the chance of continuing the achievements of the Newcastle Junior Association. Coached by Rob Armstrong, the boys earn the right to compete at the national titles with wins in the State Crown, the Country Title and the Sydney Conference Championship. Along with the powerful Victorians, they will start as favourites for the Australian Championship beginning in Newcastle next Tuesday. 17 teams will be in the boys' competition, with Newcastle hoping to improve on their 4th place last year, which was their best performance at a national title. The girls will leave Newcastle early tomorrow morning for Adelaide, and they're toured at glory. Graham Baker is at the helm of the group, which performed brilliantly to win the New South Wales title and qualify for the Nationals. Their main opposition is expected to come from Victorian clubs Melbourne, Bulleen and Ballarat. The girls have drawn Maroochydore from Queensland, Torres of Tasmania and West Adelaide in Group B, with the top two going through to the finals. At Stevenson Park at Mayfield, the Hunter Academy of Sport in conjunction with Sizzlers conducted the first softball coaching clinic under the HAS banner. Julie Castles has just returned with the Australian team from Normal, Illinois, where the Aussies picked up the bronze medal at the World Championships, their best performance internationally. Julie was passing on her skills along with Newcastle's national representative Linda Ward, who's confident Newcastle's softball is on the way up.
It's always been getting there. It's been slowly getting stronger and stronger. I think the closest we've come to a state title is third. That was last year, and about 5 years ago in the under-13s. But it is getting stronger, especially in the last couple of years.
And for the clinic's coordinator, it's an extension of a good Australian program.
The national coaching scheme is very, very good. In fact, it's envied by many other countries around the world, even the United States and the Asian countries. But I think the most important thing is that we give coaches an opportunity to expand their knowledge and then pass that on to younger players.
For the past 17 years, local clothing retailer and manufacturer Rundles had the pleasant task of making blazers for the rugby league tourists. From Fulton to the Invincibles of 82 and 86, the Australian Rugby League team has been resplendent in their green and gold blazers. On Sunday morning at 7, the call came once again. The Kangaroos are off on tour next Sunday and we would like you to make the outfits. Can it be done? Not a problem for the 400 staff at Rundles Katara factory, who have also been responsible for team uniforms for the Aussie Boomers basketball team, lawn bowlers and the State of Origin Rugby League players. The number one blazer this time for a special person, Newcastle's Mark Sargent. The factory stopped to welcome their hero. He obliged and signed autographs until Managing Director Peter Rundle interrupted Mark for a moment he'll always cherish. And even tough front rowers are moved by such occasions.
It's good for the people involved, you know, they could get some more into the spirit of things and hopefully they'll be keeping an eye on us when we're over there.
What's it feel like having it on?
Well, pretty good actually. I'm not that keen to hand it back, but I guess I'll have to. But I'd say I could get quite used to wearing it, yeah, mate.
Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!
A restructuring of the National League by the Australian Soccer Federation has raised the hopes of local players and organisers. The Bradley report on the league recommends that more regional teams be offered a place in the 14-team national competition. BHP Austral isn't marking time for an invitation. The club has already launched into million-dollar extensions to its ground and club and sees a chance to enter the league as vital in encouraging talented young players to stay in the area. The president of the Australian Soccer Federation, John Constantine, was in Newcastle last night to look over the club, and he assured officials their efforts are on the right track. BHP Austral finished 5th in the state competition this year, but they're confident of being a formidable presence in the National League.
Compared with the weapons of a previous generation of Australian infantrymen, the new technology is almost science fiction. But the Australian soldier of the future will soon recognise the F-88 Steyr as general issue.
The standard F-88, okay? As you can see, it's a lot of, it looks very spacey, space-agey, which is good. I like it. It's a very good weapon. Okay, made out of a lot of plastic pieces, but it's very strong. As a matter of fact, some circumstances stronger than the timber on the old SLR. A 30 round magazine. Oops. the soldiers can see how many rounds they've got in the magazine, okay? The one next door, it's a carbine. The guys working in trucks, jumping out of aircraft, the SAS guys, okay? It's 100mm shorter than the standard one. Obviously another thing you could see, it has not got a bayonet boss. There's not enough room to put one on. Obviously the serrated edge to cut through timber, or if you catch any fish, skull on your fish. This model here is a standard length model, but it has got a sight that is removable. This is the S model, the special model. What we can do is remove this 1.5 optical sight and put a 4-power sight on if we wish, or a night sight. Okay, just by sliding it off. An M203, which is a 40mm grenade launcher. Okay, you put your grenade in there, obviously close, away we go. Okay, and there's a sight there for the grenade launcher.
The Steyr is already in service, undergoing trials with 6th Battalion Royal Australian Regiment in Queensland. Most soldiers have seen or heard of the weapon, but for many, firing it is still a new experience. Well, Corporal, how do you think? What do you think of the Steyr?
I think it's excellent. I can actually hit a target now. It's great. It really is excellent.
Well, it's compact, light, and mostly made of plastic, and in many respects resembles a child's toy, which it most definitely isn't. But in one significant respect, hitting the target is closer to child's play than ever before. Well, here goes.
Okay, keep the weapon down range. Put your hair and touch them on. Okay, bring the weapon up into the shoulder. Identify your target at the front. Instant. In your own time, go on.
And if an untrained civilian can hit the target in one easy lesson, the implications for trained infantry are enormous. Troops have already found their accuracy enhanced by the built-in telescopic sights. The transparent magazine allows them to know instantly how many rounds remain, and for soldiers carrying more and more equipment into the battle, the reduced weight is a luxury.
It uses a new design in weaponry. It's easier to disassemble and reassemble. There are fewer working parts. There are many things that this weapon has that the current weapons don't have. So I would say yes, it's definitely a quantum leap in technology.
The Austrian-made Steyr will soon be manufactured in Australia at Lithgow and uses standard NATO calibre ammunition, along with another weapon about to come into service, the Minimi machine gun. It's half the weight of its predecessor, the M16, and it too is easy to maintain and deadly accurate. The update in Army technology hasn't come a moment too soon.
The small arms that we have at the moment were introduced into service in the mid-50s after the Korean War but before the Vietnam War, and they've reached the end of their economic life.
The change in equipment isn't restricted to weapons. Soldiers are also familiarising themselves with new radio equipment, part of the state-of-the-art Raven UHF and HF system, which is once again lighter and easier to maintain, especially with solar panel recharges. The Steyr will come into service with battalions in Townsville at the end of the year and be phased into other regiments over the following 18 months. Tom Hilston in Singleton for Newsnight.
Tonight, these paintings will go on public show, with $3,000 in prize money to be given to the winners of 4 categories. Artists from Newcastle, the Central Coast and as far north as Torres have submitted their work, with a wide variety of traditional, contemporary and watercolours on display. Local scenes are a popular theme, while flowers blossom in a myriad of colours around the walls of City Hall. The event has been organised by the Newcastle Society of Artists, and most paintings are for sale, with prices ranging from $50 to $1,500.
We are quite thrilled that with the standard of work and the variety of paintings.
Newcastle Customs officers have a deep pride in their traditional headquarters of more than a century. The elegant building suffered profound structural damage during the earthquake, but staff believed until recently that a $3 million federal government repair allocation would see them back in the building within 12 to 18 months. In the meantime, staff continue to work in cramped quarters on Wharf Road.
There's 24 of us down in these, 4 rooms down this way, and it has been tight. But given the circumstances of the earthquake and things like that, we were quite prepared to do it for a short time.
This week, the customs officers were told that the government body responsible for repair work had no money allocated this year to do the job.
I brought all the troops together that were here and said to them that the situation could be as long as 3 years. There was stunned silence then. A few your jokings and other words were said.
A spokesperson for Administrative Services Minister Nick Bolkus said today the minister had a personal interest in restoration of the heritage-listed building. She said the government's Economic Development Committee would meet early next year to discuss funding allocations, and restoration work would go ahead soon after. She said the belief that $3 million would be available up front for the work was a misunderstanding. In the meantime, Newcastle Customs officers are awaiting a decision from their Sydney headquarters on whether they'll rent new office space or hold on until their old building is once again occupied.
We've got 43 and they're from 4 different states of Australia, and we've also got an overseas applicant. I don't think there's any surprises other than that we've been very pleased with the level of the applicants, and there's a lot of people that are involved in the racing industry and journalists and all types of people that have got a great deal of experience in the racing industry.
Well, still on racing, some great races around Australia this weekend. In Sydney, we see the running tomorrow of the Epsom Handicap, and on Monday, the Metropolitan. Down in Melbourne, it's the running of the Bill Stutt Stakes, and that really has drawn a class field. But firstly, let's focus our attention on the meeting at Royal Randwick tomorrow. And the Epsom Handicap is traditionally a wide-open affair, and this year's Epsom to be run at Royal Randwick tomorrow is no exception. With a capacity field of 20 starters, luck in running is essential. However, Gary Harley has stuck with Superimpose, which will be near the tail of the field rounding the home turn. Superimpose was most unlucky when narrowly beaten by Shaftesbury Avenue in last week's George Main Stakes and is set to turn the tables tomorrow. Gary believes that NBN Cameron Handicap winner Chevelle Cavalier also has a great chance with his light weight. Australia's best 3-year-old sprinters, Canny Lad and Bureaucracy, clash in the $300,000 Bill Stutt Stakes at Moonee Valley. The big fella has selected Canny Lad to beat Bureaucracy and atone for his last start defeat. Now, the only racing on the local scene is a non-TAB meeting at Cessnock tomorrow, but that should be a lot of fun up there in the coalfields. Now, for you motor racing fans, you can also get into the action this weekend and have a bet on the big one at Bathurst, the Tooheys 1000. The TAB are running a trifecta on the great race. One word of warning though, get your bet on tomorrow. The tabs aren't open on Sunday.